Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Reacts, where today we got ourselves a track from an ex named Mama featuring Antonella. This track titled Greenlight Love, Taxa Rich, the Sonic Weapon Mix. If we switch over to here, we've got ourselves a track on the screen on SoundCloud. Apparently this track is off an upcoming release, the EP, which is going to be released later this year. Greenlight Love is the first single. Limited first edition CD of Greenlight Love is going to be exclusively released on April 24th through the website mamaantonella.com, and on May 1st, Greenlight Love hits all of the streaming platforms. Apparently also vinyl will be released soon after that, pre-orders again to be taken through the site. We've got lyrics, vocals, melody, arrangement and vocal co-production from Antonella Gamboto Burke, instrumental music and instrumental production from Chris Budd, arrangement and vocal co-production from Gavin Monan. Recorded at Magic Garden Studios in Wolverhampton, England. We're going to listen through this track from start till finish, and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go, let's do it. What do we got? I feel like that's something that we get behind, you know?
Baby, the world is going crazy. I didn't know what to do. Then out of the blue came you. Hey, hey, hey.
It's so colorful. Great use of echoes, repeaters to fill the void. That riser call and responding. Interesting use of the echoes there, but the high pitch. The filtering to kind of bring it down, the change of energy at this halfway point.
How'd you know I needed you? the light. I'm rising into the light. I'm rising into the light.
Mixes like these were great DJ sets. Everything's intentional, which I appreciate. Good stuff, nice. I mean, it was a longer track, but I feel like it was a good use of that real estate. We're going to talk about it more in the conclusion. Because welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Mama featuring Antonella, titled Greenlight Love, Tax the Rich, Sonic Weapon Mix. In this section, I'm going to be providing an overall song analysis of everything from lyrics and vocals all the way through to studio production, as well as any applicable constructive critique, and then finally, my general thoughts from a listener's perspective. But first of all, what do we think this track is about? I think this track is about Mama, the people involved, trying to inspire people to rise up and tax the rich and kind of take control of the situation, that this is a green light to be able to have a brighter future for themselves and make their way in the world. I think considering the socio-economic climate that we've got going on, that makes a lot of sense. I feel like this would be a message that people would get behind. You can hear the crowd cheering behind them when they use the megaphone, the loudspeaker, to talk to them within the piece. That's just very sensible there. I dig that. The idea of the vocals rising higher and it is kind of meant to sort of be kind of euphoric and kind of inspire people to work towards that. Ultimately, I feel like that intent makes a lot of sense. It's really good. It is effective. It's inspiring. I feel like there should be more taxes on the rich. But moving on from that, the vocals are solid too. We have really sort of like comfortable vocal technique in the range that we're in. We're very expressive and very sort of assertive on the microphone. The words come through clearly. There are some interesting legato passages and tails there. There's never a point where we seem uncomfortable or out of our element there. I mean, considering that these are the same people where their debut album Apex Predators, released last year, it made the Grammy Awards long list, apparently, in 2 categories, Best New Artist as well as Best Rock Album. So they clearly understand what they're doing. But it's just that, on the microphone, we have these compelling vocal melodies and we switch between our ranges in a way where we oscillate within the mix, really, in a way that's quite satisfying. There's a bit of kind of like fry, and so there's charisma to it as well when needed, just these different energies that we put forward, as well as the interesting way that we loop our vocals, the way they repeat in the mix in certain parts, that adds more of a sort of a rhythmic layer to the track, I think is also very cool. But yeah, no, we tell the story really neatly. I mean, this track is 6 minutes 51, which is not unusual for an extended mix. in DJ sets I mentioned that was listening through it. It just gives people more time to sort of put tracks together and establish, do I want this half of the track, for example, to be the one I focus on, or do I want this other one, you know, as opposed to if you had a 3-minute track where you maybe got to rush through things, or you have verses and choruses, for example, which are closer together. There are a lot of moving parts within this. There are some more sort of common elements, for example, like the drums, where there's a mixture of sort of like cymbal, kick, and snare set patterns and samples that kind of roll through the entire thing. Kind of reminds me a lot of the electronic music in like the 90s and 2000s. You know, great use of 8th, quarters, and 16ths there. It's compelling there. It's not super dominant. Like there's a bit of side chaining from the kick, but it's not trying to do 4 to the floor, you know. It's almost like it's a supportive layer providing a halftime feel to what's going on to the vocals. And it's kind of like it could be breakbeats if it was faster, couldn't it? We also know when not to have these cymbals, these kicks, these snares, etc. There are some points where there are just some massive pads that just peter out or flow into the ether, and you're just left to kind of like sit with things floating around, and it's a nice shift in intensity. There's great use of snare rises as well in certain parts to kind of bring things up as they crescendo back into a higher element there. It's just sensible percussion techniques. And there's great use of closed and open hi-hats as well to accent the offbeats as well. The bass is well rounded throughout this. It's never too aggressive, despite a lot of what you can get in electronic music nowadays. I don't think they're trying to make an abrasive sounding track. They're more trying to create something which is actually quite pleasant to get lost in. It's kind of trance-like. Of course, the bass isn't there all the time either, but when it is, it follows more of an 808-ish kind of purpose here, where it's simply trying to provide a ground floor for a lot of the other mid to upper range elements to sit on, like the piano or the upper synth layers. There are some interesting sounding guitar parts at the start there that I think have been filtered. It could be a synth, to be fair, but the actual sound design in this is really pretty. Like, I dig the kind of crispiness, the kind of glow to it. It's just really satisfying. There's a wonderful atmosphere that's provided by those brighter elements there. It gives a sense of hope through the texture and tone alone. There are some sort of chorusy synths as well, like around the 30-second mark, which I think are a parallel to the futuristic kind of place we live in now, where our current sort of like existence is dominated by that side of things. But I also, in a sense, kind of think it gives this track potentially a timeless feel as well. You know, it's not aged by the sounds that we're using. Little twinkles as well that are kind of a nice alternate, for example, like a bell tree or something like that. You'd hear more sort of like 20th century stuff. I just think it's neat to have those sort of bits of ear candy, those transitional devices. And to go back to the keys really quickly, I like how they twinkle in the mix there. They have these cute little melodies there that are just wonderful supports to what's going on with the vocals. They never try to sort of contrast or argue with them. Nothing's fighting for attention within the mix, even though it's quiet, lush sounding. And it's worth noting that when you don't have those snare fills kind of rising up, you do have these synth sequences that do the same. And amongst lots of different sort of post-production filtering techniques there, adjusting the feel or the flow of vocals there with their mids, highs, and lows to kind of bring things up as applicable. And when you've got that Greenlight Love, you know, that hook line that is repeated there, it's just effervescent with everything put together like that. Things take turns. The layering is well thought out and well constructed. There's never a point where like you're confused about when things have suddenly risen or not. There's a consistency to it that is rather satisfying. Even in that middle section there, most of the reason why it's relatively subtle at that point is because of the fact that you've got that filtering making it more low-key. When you have the crowd applauding there, it's just more of a mid to upper range texture there, which sounds nice and bright. You can kind of hear it, but it's not like they've mixed in the Foley quite well as well. And at some points, I think there's also more subtle rises kind of bringing you up over like a minute or so. It's just like a slow build, but it's satisfying, I think, because if they had been shorter, it would have been more blunt. Thematically, I think that it's major leaning because you want it to be a hopeful sounding track. The chord progression has... I don't think there's any chromatics there. I don't think there's any parallel majors or minors. It might be a parallel major on the first chord. I'm not sure. It's just kind of, I think it just sounds super happy, I think, because of whatever choices they made. Not just because of the major, but it's also the tones and textures of the instrumental elements that we have in there. It's just very neat. And I think that the chord progression and the ideas we have within the different parts, the consistency of those bass lines and progressions makes sense with the vocals, with the subject matter. Again, we're trying to lift people up and get them working towards something coherent together. We don't have any sort of abrasive textures or tones there, even when things are filtered to be a little bit sort of like irregular. It usually resolves. Yeah, no, things are well connected, not a note out of place. And I just like how things come down at the end with that kind of natural sort of bell curve. It's just neat. Studio recording, mixing and mastering, the vocals, keys, synths, pads, sequences, risers, drums, bass, etc. are well leveled. There's no weird resonances within the frequency spectrum. If there are any sort of filtering parts there which specifically highlight a low, mid, or mid, that's a deliberate decision in post with the filtering. Music surrounds you in a stereo field, sounds huge. Lots of sort of fun elements gonna go in between the left and right sides of the cans. There is dynamic ranges per the middle part there, but it's also nicely glued there as per the expectation for this kind of music. Bus compression limiting is handled nice and loud, bit of pumping there, but not to a point again where it's choked. And I don't think the vocals are overproduced there. They're able to express themselves in a variety of different ways whilst remaining compelling there. It's what you'd expect from their caliber, but like at the same time, it's pleasant to know they've hit where it's expected. No applicable constructive critique as far as I'm concerned. From a general listener's perspective, I just think it's a really pleasant track, both within itself and also, again, I can imagine the use case, within a DJ set, but also as part of an EP itself. It makes me wonder what else they're going to put forward. I wish them all the best of luck in future, but thank you very much for watching my review of this track from Mama featuring Antonella, titled Greenlight Love, Tax the Rich, the Sonic Weapon Mix. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show them some love via their various social medias, and this will be on all digital streaming platforms as of May 1st, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever to the crazy stuff going on in the world, and I'll catch you in the next SP Reacts. Spiderhands out.